The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
All right, yeah, so we've got Monero price had a little bit of a pump recently in the past week and then sort of came back down a little bit. This is one of those things where he said, yeah, expect some positive motion with Monero in terms of the rest of the market because we're basically expecting them to go up at this point, which it has been on all counts, stocks, crypto. And Monero got a nice little bump here, and then we sort of had a little pullback as well. So again, the thing is that the new liquidity tends to go into all of the shit coins and all of the stuff that's going to make the suits money. So we get some hand-me-down liquidity at the same time, right? People in general, they get excited. New people come into the market. Existing players, privacy is a big deal now. So people are like, well, let me buy some privacy, right? Let me buy Monero. And there's a bunch of privacy shit coins trying to compete for that for that same kind of attention. Yet at the same time, we came up to this level here, and that's, again, these are statistical levels. This is not an unsurprising place to have found some kind of top. I call this wave magic. It's just standard deviations. It's not anything. It's not at the level of the Bitcoin regression analysis, which we'll take another look at today, since we're breaking through to new highs. It's not nearly at the same kind of power. It requires a lot of interpretation. It actually took me a couple years to figure out how to interpret these charts. But at any rate, Monero is doing reasonably okay. We're sitting here at about 327 today on this lovely Sunday morning. So we will go higher at some point. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of, it might not happen immediately as the other coins pump. So don't be jealous. Be happy that we outperform them in bear markets, and that overall our price has done actually quite well relative to all the other shit coins over long periods of time. So let's take a look at how we're doing relative to Bitcoin. You can see here that obviously Bitcoin is doing slightly better. We continue this kind of downtrend after having peaked out at kind of a very obvious spot. This line goes back many weeks, many years. We'd have to look at the weekly chart to see that. We're not going to take a look at that today. Try and keep it fast here. But the simple fact is that, we might have a little bit more downside relative to Bitcoin. Probably this cluster of lower standard deviations is a place to look for some interim support. It is kind of a zone here. So you could even hypothetically say that we might end up in this area. I hope not. In some ways, I kind of hope so, because that means the market is pumping, right? And so if you got anything, you're going to be making money. I just, at this point, I don't think that unless Bitcoin's going to pump bigly, it's hard for me to see the XMR BTC ratio going down significantly. So I sort of associate this going down with Bitcoin going up, at least in this particular moment in time. So looks like we had KuCoin had a little spike down here, but not for very long. This is a 5-minute chart. Okay, nothing there to really see with the divergences. I guess we're losing to ETH lately. ETH has been on a tear. ETH has actually pumped quite a lot, and we'll take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. But ETH has made some massive rebounds. So yeah, we've kind of fallen out of the bullish channel here. All right, it is what it is. If you got some ETH bags, maybe you're celebrating or something. Market cap dominance, same story, right? We just looked at ETH and Bitcoin versus Monero, and so it's the same story here with market cap dominance. We're sort of, we had this nice peak. This is where, again, not everything works out. And this is also why I say I don't like the TA on Monero quite as much as some of the other stuff, because, you've got this sort of clash of fundamentals of the coin versus just nonsense hype, money printing, like the Bitcoiner mantra over the past 2 years now has been, let's use the money printer to pump our price, right? Like it used to be, let's have digital freedom money that was honest. And now it's like, well, you got to play the game, bro. Let's just get BlackRock and Michael Saylor to use bonds and take loans and print that money and make our bags pump. It's good for the world. If it's good for Bitcoin, it's good for the world, definitionally, right? Pre-definition that. Anyways, I digress. So yeah, Monero's doing fine, guys. Probably we're just going to have some more stability, right? That's what we tend to have. We have the big spike up. Who knows? Maybe some other major event, some fundamental event will happen here, and we'll see another liquidity spike up. not too sure. I don't want to make any claims there. But eventually, we will see Monero's US dollar relative price move towards the upside here. I do think it's almost like this foregone conclusion now that we are in the bull market, right? We have sustained higher highs. Finally, we've gotten through the macro scare and like nobody seems to care about it anymore. So yeah, moving on here to Bitcoin. You can see that Bitcoin actually did. So we talked last week. We said, hey, look for another leg up here in Bitcoin before some longer consolidation period. And we said these purple bands are the place to look for that next leg up. And that's exactly where we hit. And at this point, we are consolidating, right? You see a little bit of drop off in the volatility. Maybe we can come down to the 1 hour, see if we can see anything more, I don't know, more useful for our trading purposes. At this moment, I would probably trade these bands, right? I would, and remember, there are standard deviations. So they account for like, including the upper and the lower, they account for 66% or 67% of the price action, which means that about 16% can happen above and about 16% of the price action can happen below. That's why you see these wicks that get down there, right? And these little wicks that get above. So just know, like, if you're going to trade these bands like that, just know that that you have to account for that you need to not get wiped out on a wick up, on a spike up. And you could even set your entries a little bit higher in these bands, right? You might not always hit them, or you can scale in, right? There's different ways you can do this. You could scale from small positions, low leverage, and then a little bit higher, and then set a cap and say, okay, after that, no more, and then set yourself a stop loss, or maybe your liquidation is your stop loss, depending on if you're using cross margin or not. That's all in the weeds. Anyways, yeah, I would expect here sideways chop from Bitcoin at this point for the next like week. So somewhere in the neighborhood of these bands that we're already seeing. I wouldn't expect a new all-time high immediately. But it's going to make new all-time highs eventually, just probably not in the immediate sense. In the immediate sense, what we're looking at, let's go to the dominance here. What we're looking at is alt season. Is this it? With the Japanese man and his palm towards the butterfly, is this alt season? I don't know. Maybe. It certainly looks the beginning of what could be an alt season, but also this kind of looked like the beginning of what could be an alt season, and it turned out not to be. Probably because the tariffs came in here and scared everyone. So it was like, we got the big pumpage, and then the tariffs came along, and then people were starting to see the macro patterns. They were noticing patterns again. Bad people, stop doing that. And then so the market kind of like, I guess, it sort of capped out, right? The stocks sort of capped out for a period of time. Then we did get that crash. So right now, it actually does look like this might really be the first salvo of alt season. So I don't know. Let me say I'm going to give it 70% that this is the real alt season, trademark, registered, copyrighted, etc. Where is this going to go ultimately? Let's go to the weekly chart, and you can see some pretty obvious spots. If this really is the alt season and we are engaged in the next bull market, the big blow up, we're looking for these areas right here, right? We're looking for the standard deviation areas down there. Or we could also try and say, hey, let's look at the pleb lines, right? This right here would be a beautiful pleb line, wonderful, the best pleb line. And you would expect to hit that. In fact, I would expect over many years now at this point, this chart is showing at this point consolidating volatility, right? So we had the big spike up in the last bull market. We didn't quite make it there this time, assuming again that my 70% WAG wild ass guess, it's a swag, it's a scientific wild ass guess, assuming that is going to hold, right, and that we're actually in a real bull market alt season, then we're going to come down here, and we're probably over the course of many years, 2027, 28, 29, we're probably going to see a consolidation of volatility here on very long time frames. That would make too much sense to me. Crypto does seem to be stabilizing in a lot of ways, so it would make a lot of sense that this dominance chart would actually stabilize. So anyways, that's very, very long time frames to look at. By the time that we get there, no one's going to remember that I said that, so I can pretty much say whatever I want when I talk about years from now, and that's a trick. Just watch out for people trying to play that trick. So let's see, Ethereum. I guess we should talk about Ethereum because it came back bigly, right? Ethereum's now sitting here at 3,800 after they released the ETF. And I guess they just dumped on the market, man. I don't know. I've heard there was a big hack or something. One of the early Ethereum foundation guys got hacked. That was an incredible move, right? You don't typically see moves like this that completely disrespect. So this is the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart that just completely disrespect headliner areas. Like this fall off was insane. Now it's coming back to the upside. So I kind of have the impression that was probably some level of bullshit right there, right? That was probably some level of insider trading or whatever. I don't know. That's just my speculation. The real winner apparently this week is XRP. Boom. XRP just jumped above everybody. And you can actually see Monero here in the dark red is actually anemic compared to everybody else. This is how you know, again, that this is the money printer in action, guys. The suits have been in crypto for years and years and years, and people are finally realizing it. But this is the money printer in action, right? This is the speculation machine in action. They know what they're doing. They see the flows, right? Probably people now are, everyone's comfortable, so people are moving into risk again. They see the funds flows onto the exchanges. They pump them ahead of time, right? They do all that stuff. They even do that on traditional markets. They just have to hide it a little bit more. Anyways, Monero is, just kind of like trending sideways. And it's kind of funny. This would actually be this would be very reminiscent of the 2020 and 2021 action where Monero went first, right? Monero had a big pump, and then shortly thereafter, Bitcoin pumped, and then everything pumped. So that, I am kind of like speaking in generalities. It's sort of vagaries, forgive me, but there's a slight reminiscence there. Okay, let's go to the macro. Not too much happening. The dollar index, we said, hey, we hit this very long. This is a decades long trend line. I know you can't see it. We're not going to go back all that way. But this is a decades long trend line. So we hit that. It wasn't too surprising to get a little bounce there. Again, the name of the game when it comes to the macro stuff, you just want to see stability, right? If you see stability, everything should be fine. Oil, stable, right? We had the big moves and everything and the rebounds, and oil's been stable for the past weeks. Reverse repos, I don't really actually think this chart tells us a whole lot anymore. Again, we're looking for violent moves that are sustained. We get these spikes, right? But these are moves that go up and then down. Who knows what that is? Maybe an institution that needs, I don't know, safety for a night or a couple nights before they reallocate funds. Could be something like that. And why not get that percentage, right? When you're moving billions, that overnight rate is still something, right? So why wouldn't you do that if you have access to it? Gold doing not a whole lot, actually. Gold, kind of funny, gold and Monero seem to have a similar feel to them right now, where they made big moves early and then they're sort of chopping sideways. If the stock market continues doing what it's doing and they can manage to suppress gold, and you bet your ass they can, especially after a big move like this, it could be the case that they will cap and suppress gold here for a period of time until people voluntarily decide to go in for more risk. And this would, again, be very, very much in line with the stats that I showed you guys. The recursive standard deviations. Is it going to come up here? Does it not want to do it? It could, maybe it wants to. It's just, oh, you know why I'm on the 2 hour, not daily. Here we go. All right. Yeah. So you can see this purple line right here. I talked about this line for a long time. Once you tap that, it's effectively, that in my mind, it's amazing how the recursive standard deviation, a unique statistical concept that I actually made up. Drunken high one day in Mexico City, believe it or not. It was late at night. It was like 2 a.m. I told my buddy, he's like, yo, I need your laptop, please. You have TradingView, right? He's like, why? It's like, I thought of an idea and I have to code this. So I spent literally like until 6 a.m. coding it. It took 4 hours because I was drunk and high. But I got it done, and then I checked it later. Don't worry, I didn't just let it sit there. I checked it many times afterwards, sober. And anyways, this purple line is incredible. I don't know why the recursive standard deviation, the lifetime recursive standard deviation, is so good at predicting tops, but it just is. So yeah, gold is probably in the toppy zone right here, guys. I hate to say it, right, but that's just the reality that we're looking at the moment. Maybe it can go higher. Certainly, it could disobey my my wild speculations. And here's a way that let me show you one way that it actually might be able to disobey. Here's the S&P 500 drifting higher. Same with the Nasdaq. But the only other regression analysis that was actually like really solid was the S&P 500 regression analysis. And where we are at right now is kind of a place where it's like, man, things are really almost fairly out of control. So the overall line, the blue line, is really, really good. The red line is kind of my attempt at extending that in some kind of like statistically congruent way. I was unable to get it much higher than that. But you can see that's, this is sort of the middle of the pack. With Bitcoin, we have the boundaries, right? We have the upper and the lower boundaries. With the S&P, the boundaries aren't quite as good. The green line, I had to do some finagling to make that green line work. So I didn't feel totally comfortable with it. But the blue line is amazing, guys. The blue line, I feel, works really, really well. The point is that if we're looking at this trend line right here, right, This goes all the way back to the first time that the Federal Reserve blew up the market in 1929. And then again with the .com. We are now along that same trend line with the .com, right? We are the S&P 500 is basically peaking out there. And so if this thing gets above and does that, that's kind of a sign that like the money printer really is being an exponent of an exponent as opposed to just like normal exponents. I know I just said that like a retard on purpose. But yeah, if we start seeing this S&P 500 go up here, then I'm going to actually have to reevaluate my claim that this would be the top for gold. But it's hard for me to envision gold getting much above this line. Maybe it does something where it sort of rides this line, right? Maybe it kind of does this over time, right? And it just sort of meanders up slowly. Anyways, that's some possibilities, right? Just exploring possibilities there. But I do wonder if gold isn't at either an interim top or like the big gains, like, the 2x gains that you want to get for gold. Like it might be the case that those big gains are gone for a period of years until we get maybe something else. But that's not to say gold couldn't make new highs, right? That's not to say gold couldn't ride that purple line. I'm just saying that everything that I've seen over the years with this recursive standard deviation concept, that purple line has somehow magically called tops. And it's like, how? Like nobody had that. Like no, I haven't found that concept anywhere. So no one's using it to trade. So maybe it's just useful because it's the reason we use mathematics like that is because the markets are a real economic process in action. And so we want to say, hey, can we find ways to model that economic process? And if you can, then it's not because it's obeying the model, it's that the model is obeying reality or tracking reality reasonably well. Anyways, don't need to go too crazy with any of that. There's nothing that I care too much here about the macro. We're going to start looking at velocity, although this chart is very, very delayed. Like the last numbers that we have for velocity happened from January. So I wish maybe there's another place. I need to look harder to find recent velocity numbers because velocity correlates with inflation. So that's one reason that they had such low inflation all the way from 2001. Velocity was decreasing the entire time, and that's one way they were able to hide inflation. And you'll notice when did velocity kick up? 2022, all through 2022 and most of 2023. And when did we have the inflation? Exactly at the same time. So velocity ticked up and we got a lot of inflation as a partial result. And you get velocity changes even in Austrian economics that can cause inflation absent discoveries of gold or printing or creation of shitcoins, perhaps. Bonds, nothing that we care about has happened in bonds. It's just the same, right? It's stable. So again, the name of the game, if macro is stable, then you can expect to drift higher, at least maybe with some big upside potential. So macro stable, macro's fine. Monero transaction counts are also stable, sitting about 20,000, 25,000. Cool. And so is the hash rate, mining difficulty per day. Mining difficulty per day actually seems to have want to center around 600 gigas now. So that's cool. We've continuing to go up here. I have to imagine that could be potentially a sign of more adoption, more people getting into Monero, positive price. We have done basically a 2x in price lately, and we have had maybe not a 2x in hash rate, but we have had increasing hash rate. So there's probably some correlation here. Maybe one day I'll actually do an analysis to try and say how closely, along what timeframes is the hash rate maybe correlated to price, and maybe try and come up with some dubious mathematics to create some sort of model to integrate the transaction counts as well. But maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I don't trade Monero, guys. I just buy Monero and I hold it. I use it. And if I have to top up my bags or I want to move some shitcoin gains, then I'll do that. I think I told you guys we're going to look at the Bitcoin regression analysis. So we will do that and then call it a day. So / if you're if you're doing this and clicking on here, right? Clicking on your indicators, you're doing it the slow way. Just use your pinky finger and hit that / button. Then you can get to the indicators that way. And you never have to take your hands off the keyboard. Bitcoin regression. Okay, so we're going to add that to the chart. Let's go to the daily. And that's a lot of lines. Let's go to BLX. I don't think I have nearly as many lines polluting the chart. Okay, so here's the daily. The red line, as we've talked about, the red line is the upper boundary for those who aren't believers. I know some of you never will be because you just don't believe in math. That's fine. You don't understand statistics. You were never taught or educated, or that's fine if that's what you think. But you're wrong. So anyways, the red line is the upper boundary of Bitcoin price derived in a canonical way by applying the tool called regression analysis or best fit lines. doing it in a way that is consistent with the methodology. And it has worked very well. So anyways, you DCA out of Bitcoin as you approach the red line. The last time right here, this red line is not defined at all on the basis of this point. This red line I defined on all of the other blow off tops, and then we came within a percent in 2021. So it doesn't mean it has to hold perfectly in the future. It could be that more people are actually seeing this now. I guarantee you that the smart guys that actually do trading firm stuff have this, but they're not going to share it with the world. So I'm here to give you some things that those guys might have that they're not going to share. Point is, right now, if we were to like smash, we would go to 190,000, right? Maybe we do it later this year. If we believe the 4-year cycle, we could be looking at about 200,000, let's say October, right? November, October was when we peaked last time. Actually, it's been December, November, right? So working backwards, 2017 was December. And then the most recent one, this was a November peak. And then so maybe it's an October peak. If that was the case, it would be around about 200,000. So that's really anything above like 180 is where you want to start DCAing out of Bitcoin. Just do yourself a favor. I know y'all are all hodlers and you're true believers, but do yourself a favor and take something off the table, right? Like, what's the point of having money if you can't use it to live your life? So, yeah, that would be interesting. I really am excited to see if this line holds again. There will be no more, because I kept this close to the vest early on when I made this. And so there are people out there that doubt whether or not I actually did that. And like, oh, you just did it after the fact, bro. Like, fuck you, I did not. But that's okay, Mr. Wall. And we'll get to see, hey, does it perform well again, right? And all these people that are like, no, this is stupid and it, math doesn't work and stats are dumb. They can tell me I got lucky again, I guess, but we'll see, right? I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I think there's a good chance that we are in a real bull market. This line is going to continue to go up. We're going to somewhere approach this red line. Everyone will be celebrating with champagne. So that's I guess that's about all I got here, guys. Yeah, I don't see any reason to drone on any further. Yeah, we covered all the important stuff.
Silver is up since I guess a couple months ago. This year's gone up a lot in general.
Let's look at silver. Actually, let's go to my gold and silver chart. I don't know which gold and silver chart is it. Maybe this one. So here we have XAU divided by XAG. So gold divided by silver. Silver is it's like in the past 3 months it has done better, but overall you would actually say that silver is kind of downtrending versus gold over the past few years. Let's see, what has it done? It has outperformed gold by 15% though. And maybe it is about time for silver to outshine gold, right? That could be the case, right? With gold probably reaching somewhere, like it's not maybe not necessarily it's a blow off or whatever, but it's going to slow down at best. Gold will continue drifting higher slowly, but it's I don't see it making like 5,000 anytime soon.
When's precious metals alt season?
I guess I don't know, man. Like they demonetized silver, no one wants it, and
I know, dude. Like
industrial,
anything but gold, really.
Yeah, like silver has a monetary component, but people are less and less. They care about it less and less.
They don't care, yeah.
So, sorry if you're a silver holder out there. I mean, you've been keeping up with gold more or less, overall. But man, I got burned once. I moved Bitcoin into silver.
You were tricked into the silver hype.
It's terrible. I lost a lot of value relative to what I
silver hype
just with gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Let's see. We have Shortwave Serpent gave us 10 cents.
I hold 95% plus of my net worth in Monero.
I 100% believe you, bro. I'm just ashamed at that other 5%. That's all I can say. I thought you were for real, man.
Because Body only has Monero. He trades other coins based on his Monero leverage.
That's right.
Technically, he only ever holds Monero.
Yeah, I don't mind getting in debt for Monero to get some fiat, but to sell Monero for fiat, my God. 5%. We got to work on that 5%, bro. I don't know what's up with the shortwave. Just playing, obviously. Nihilist also tipped just now.
Yeah, I saw your. I swear I didn't read it. I saw your super chat earlier, Nihilist. I thought it was pulled up. I will pull this up on the news segment if you don't mind. A new Havino network called Dawn Swap.
Yeah, okay. That's totally fine.
Thank you, Nihilist. Yeah, thanks, Body. You guys need to realize how much this guy gives so much useful, like free, like if you don't listen to what Body says, like you're just kind of dumb. Like this guy gives so much free information and so many free tools and scripts for trading. View, it's crazy. I can't believe you do it for free.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's really nice of you to say.